Alright guys, before we get into the video, we're going to be doing a new giveaway for you guys.
That giveaway is going to be the D&D Beyond Players Bundle, which includes not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different books.
Yes, in that bundle we have the Player's Handbook, the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, Xander's Guide to Everything, and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So we're going to have tons of character options in this bundle.
So stay tuned for that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below on the video so you're entered to win a great giveaway coming from us very soon.
Alright guys, on to the video. Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. Moving on to the subclass series, on to the next subclass, which is the Fey Wanderer Ranger. So if you're new to the channel, to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the abilities gained in this subclass, and we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities. So, without any further ado, Alex, take it away.
Alright. I keep wanting to touch my laptop screen, but it's not a touch screen. It's happening. I usually have my tablet instead of my laptop, but that's whatever. At level 3, you get not 1, not 2, the start of 2, but then a third ability. So lots of fun things happening early. Starting off with Dreadful Strikes. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you deal an extra 1d4 psychic damage to the target, which only happens once per turn. So if you hit with your first attack, eventually you have multi-attack or extra attack. It's only one time that damage pops per turn. Right. But the damage does scale up to 1d6 at level 11. So by level 11, it's essentially a free Hunter's Mark every turn. So you stack that with Hunter's Mark and all the free extra damages. Yes. And of course, also starting at level 3, you have Fey Wanderer Magic, which is just your extra subclass spells, which are very Fey themed.
Yes.
Bunch of movement and Charm Person, Misty Step, Dispel Magic, Dimension Door, and Mislead, which essentially is you go invisible, create a clone of yourself to mislead the person, think something else. So tricksy. It's very Fey, very Fey themed spells. You also get Fey Wild Gifts, which is you can choose one, or you probably could talk your DM to picking something else. But these are all little, what's a good word here?
Flavorful things.
Flavorful bits that somehow happen to you or around you that show your influence of Fey. Like, you just magically just start growing horns or antlers like you're a creature of the Fey, like a satyr or something, but you're not. But just, you're that in tune with Fey magic and stuff. And then finally at level 3, you also have Otherworldly Glamour. I, for some reason, struggled with that. And, let's see. As a result, whenever you make a charisma check, you gain a bonus equal to your wisdom modifier, which Rangers' wisdom is their spellcasting modifier, so help with your charisma checks. Also, you gain proficiency in your choice of deception, performance, or persuasion, which are all charisma-based skill checks.
Yes. Then at level 7, we have Beguiling Twist. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. In addition, whenever you or a creature you can see within 120 feet of you succeeds on a saving throw against being charmed or frightened, you can use a reaction to force a different creature you can see within 120 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. If the save fails, the target is charmed or frightened by you for 1 minute. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a successful save.
The old reflect charm frightened.
Yes, exactly. Yep. And charmed, probably not so common, but frightened is relatively common.
Especially at higher levels.
Spell reflect. Yes.
Yep.
Though it is your spell save DC, and it is a minute, and every turn they get a chance to break it. So take that how you will on there.
Yep.
Level 11, we have Fey Reinforcements. You know the Summon Fey spell, which is a new spell in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I'll probably put that up on here so you can get an idea of what it is. It doesn't count against the number of ranger spells you know, and you can cast it without a material component. You can also cast it once without a spell slot, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. So once a day, you can cast it for free, essentially.
Yep.
It is a 3rd level spell, though. And whenever you start casting the spell, you can modify it so it doesn't require concentration. If you do, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute. So basically, if you want to use it in combat, you make it not require concentration because you don't want to accidentally drop it and then lose that creature. And it does have some interesting things that go along with it. It has a decent attack, though it does say number of attacks rounded down. So instead of multi-attack, you're really only going to get 1 attack. Cause if it's a 3rd level spell, you round it down. It's 1.
What?
And a half. 1.5 round.
And a half.
So 1 attack.
Right.
1d6 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1d6 force. So It's solid. It has some teleportation and things like that, giving disadvantage.
It's something else out there doing damage
on its next roll. Yeah, it does. It does. It's another body on the battlefield. It's only got 30 health and 12 AC, but it is what it is. And then the next ability you get is at level 15, the capstone ability, Misty Wanderer. You can slip in and out of the Feywild to move in a blink of an eye. You can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot. You can do so a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Whenever you cast Misty Step, you can bring along one willing creature you can see within 5 feet of you. The creature teleports to an occupied space of your choice within 5 feet of your destination space. So it's kind of just like a smaller dimension door, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what it becomes.
Pretty much.
So that's it. Those are the abilities gained in the subclass. So we'll just jump right into the rating portion. First up is the roleplay value. Asterisk, as always. When we talk about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background. That's on you as a player. Can't really rate you as a player, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how these abilities might improve your potential in those different circumstances.
Indeed.
So, all that being said, couple thoughts on here.
Just a couple.
The abilities all have some kind of minor roleplay potential, except the extra psychic damage, which that is what it is. There are some RP spell options as well. Movement is something that can a lot of times be used in RP because it can help you get to places you're not supposed to be, or get around puzzles or different scenarios or wilderness environments that would otherwise be much more difficult to get around.
Chases and things.
Exactly. So there's definitely some RP uses for those kind of movement spells. And Dispel Magic and stuff like that can also be used. And Charm Person, of course, can always be used in RP. So there is that. And again, you're getting like the Feywild gifts and things like that, giving like a little bit more flavor. Though, that's just like an outside of the abilities thing. It's kind of just like an extra bonus that's on top there.
Who smells like eggnog?
Right.
I saw cinnamon and nutmeg on here. I was like, who smells like eggnog?
Right. I think probably the biggest thing on here is probably the otherworldly glamour, as the charisma checks get your wisdom modifier added on top of them as well.
Yep.
And then you also gain extra proficiency in deception, performance, or persuasion, which all pretty solid proficiencies to have.
Indeed.
So, all that being said, we went with a 4 out of 5 on the roleplay value for the Fey Wanderer Ranger.
Indeed. Well, if one ends up being above a 4 or so, usually the other category is lacking in most cases. And this is the case here. Being very Fey themed, a lot of Fey stuff is more RP leaned anyway.
Right.
And there's a lot of charming and stuff like that, and that very well fits the theme here. Like almost all the abilities are kind of they very much feel like, okay, if you read the abilities on this list and you didn't know what they called the subclass, they're going to call this Fey something, right? It's like, yeah, of course they are. Because it's, you do get to not only have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened, but can actually choose to make somebody else be charmed or frightened instead, which could be really cool. Summoning Fey does give another body on the battlefield to do extra damage. It's not nothing, holy cow. It's not summon elemental or anything like that, but it's still another body on the battlefield doing extra damage. The spells in combat, really Misty Step, Dimension Door, being able to get in and out of trouble is really most of your combat stuff. Of course, starting off at the top, the basic extra psychic damage, never a bad thing. It's free, doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
Just passive stuff. And I do like just free extra damage. Everyone should like free extra damage.
Why not?
And of course, this is the last thing with being able to Misty Step for free multiple times. This is probably the longest, most in-depth conversation we had about this whole subclass. Is my first thoughts initially is like, oh, this is really helping the viability for maybe a melee ranger build. The free extra damage, because if you're in melee, you take 2-weapon fighting as your fighting style. You can attack once with your offhand for your action, and then one with the offhand for the bonus action. So you've got 2 chances to get that extra psychic damage in. Help give you some more consistent lower level damage. You almost feel kind of like a monk in that aspect of you're not ever going to hit for big chunks at once, but just like death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing.
Right.
And being able to Misty Step for free helps you get to a target, get there, get in and out if you get swarmed in melee.
Right.
But if you still want to play the ranger as a ranger, as a ranger, that like, all this movement stuff doesn't really help you much in combat. Right. Unless you just happen to get just bull rushed by like the one big thing you're fighting decides he wants to come get you because you landed a crit and he didn't like that.
Right.
Then it would help you get away from him quickly. But besides that, if you're, 85 feet away and firing arrows to your heart's content,
right,
being able to Misty Step 4 times for free, 3 times for free.
And I think another comment on that too is if you do decide to go to weapon fighting, you're foregoing the +2 bonus to your attack rolls.
Yes,
so you're getting
chance
3
to hit.
chances with whatever your chance to hit is, or you have 2 attacks with a bow
with a
+2
with a 10% increased chance to hit.
It's going to be pretty close, probably on there.
That's why we ended up with just a 2.5 out of a possible 5.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot, in our opinion, going on here. Pretty much a lot of the stuff is RP based. There's not a whole lot of combat bonuses. You're getting a D4 damage.
Which does scale to a D6.
But then, other than that, I mean, there's a chance to do a charm or frightened reflect, but there has to be 2 targets, and someone has to save it, and then they can make the save every turn.
Yeah.
How effective is it really going to be, especially when you're a half caster and your stat's not going to be that high anyway to save? You do have your summon Fey, but
it's helpful, but it's not.
It's all right.
Not super impactful.
So, and then the Misty Step again, depending on what you actually do with the fighting style, could make it less effective. It's never ineffective. It's always good to have movement.
Yes.
But if you're already at range, you're not going to need it as often.
This is true.
To use it. So, 2.5. And the other thing too to keep in mind is even the Summon Fey, it's a ranger spell, so you can still take it if you chose a different spell class or multi-class, a different subclass out there eventually, and you can still have it. You just don't have the concentration. But if you're at range, again, you're not going to probably be getting as much anyway. So all that aside, to get to the last part on here is the overall class synergy, and with the overall class synergy,
and before he tears this thing asunder, a lot of this. The lack of being able to synergize comes from the fact that base ranger is lackluster this is true. More than the subclass is not good at synergizing with the base class. And go ahead.
So with the synergy, honestly, there's not a whole lot going on here.
No, there's not.
There's a big emphasis on the charming and RP side of stuff, which isn't really helpful to the base ranger abilities. But as Alex was just saying, base ranger abilities are pretty jank. To begin with, you have like your natural explorer, your favorite enemy, which pretty much
favorite terrain.
There's not a whole lot of subclasses that synergize with those, honestly.
No.
Very much at all, if any. You also have your spell casting, which, sure, whatever.
Okay.
There's that. You also have stuff like land stride and hide in plain sight, where like difficult terrain doesn't affect you as much, and
but it's got to be in your favorite terrain.
Right, but then also, you're getting these abilities to teleport around, so you don't care about difficult terrain anyways.
No.
I mean, you don't have to use a spell slot, but it's kind of redundant, on there. So it's not really that synergistic, honestly, in our opinion. No. So I'll quit beating the dead horse, and we'll just give it the 2.5 out of 5 that we gave it.
Yeah.
It's all right.
And keep in mind, like, when a lot of synergistic scores, we usually, I start out at a 3. Thinking, if it's just kind of there, it helps a little. Doesn't really take anything away from it. Usually a 3 is where we go with synergy.
Right.
If it, really helps it, then we start going up. So if any synergy score we give below 3, really means there's just not much it's helping it do.
Right. And there's just
I mean,
there's not a whole lot going on.
And with base ranger, there's a reason why there's a whole thing of unearthed arcana ranger, not a different subclass for ranger. There's a different
optional class features that were added in this as well.
Yeah.
So
which we'll get to.
Yes, we will get to those. Spoiler. But that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. But before we finish, we got to get Tasha's thoughts on this subclass. So as Alex pulls it up.
She's going to say, well, base ranger is really more of the issue here than the actual subclass. Okay. Tasha's thoughts. Do you think a kilt is a vital part of the Fey Wandering aesthetic? And if not, why are you so wrong?
Very certain about that. Yeah. So you're saying Scottish Fey people are Scottish, or Scottish people are I don't know. Really
yes.
We'll go with that. Anyways, That's going to wrap up the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so all of our new videos are coming out. Let us know in the comments down below what you'll see from us in the future. And as always, thanks for watching.